Auburn's quarterback discussion for who starts on Saturday, actually kind of interesting.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zach Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. We are dapping it up with the Daryl Dappage Montgomery radio legend, as we do every Wednesday here on the show. Auburn basketball takes on Kent State tonight. Auburn basketball lands an awesome, super talented commit. We'll jump into that in just a moment. But the quarterback conversation continues to roll on because it wouldn't be an Auburn game week if that wasn't the case at this point, Daryl, over the last few years. And there's kind of weirdly an argument for and an argument against all three of these guys when you look at Payton Thorne, when you look at Hank Brown, when you look at Walker White.
There really is. I think the press conference, as I look back on it and reflect on Monday's press conference, I really feel like it kind of left you with more questions than answers. Now it's why we're talking about this. It's why we're still bringing it up 2 days later and speculating and debating, is because what I thought initially by divulging an injury that I felt really comfortable about Monday evening, meaning that Payton Thorne wasn't going to play. I still don't think he starts. My prediction is Payton Thorne will not start, but it's for a variety of reasons. And I just think, again, let's go back to what we talked about before the bye week, why it's even a question of who to start at QB. You're coming off a bye week, which means you get more reps in theory if you're going to practice with the ones. And we know he did practice with the ones, Hank Brown, because we know Payton Thorne didn't practice.
Yeah.
Number two, you're playing Louisiana Monroe, albeit dangerous, with a good head coach. It's getting a great reputation. They've lost 3 in a row. Now is the time, if you want to see what you have for the last 3 games of the year, is why I think the question is who to start at QB. Now, all that goes completely out the window and is completely irrelevant if Payton Thorne's, let's say, 50, 60% with a shoulder issue. So more questions than answers, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think so. And to me, it's so funny. And Kyle and I joked about this a little bit on the show yesterday, but there's a large chunk of people that heard Hugh Freeze's comments on Monday and walked away with thinking, oh, okay, yeah, Payton is going to start. I don't know. I didn't get that from it, but a lot of people did, Daryl. And so I do think there is a chance that he starts on Saturday. But to me, the focusing on the comments about the big picture, to me, I think that's more of what it's about. And maybe they're using the shoulder. Maybe the shoulder thing's legitimate. Maybe they're using the shoulder in unison with that to kind of say like, hey, we're benching him again. He just respects Payton. And I think that's what a head coach should do, is protect the reputation of its players. So to me, I'm with you. Like, I think they go with somebody other than Payton Thorne on Saturday.
It'd be interesting to see how much Payton Thorne would have practiced last week if Auburn would have played Saturday. Like, did they hold him out because they knew they could, because they had a whole week of prep this week, which a bye week is made to let people rest and get healthy with the bumps and bruises. So I wonder how that timeline would have moved up had Auburn played last Saturday. I just think, just like I did before New Mexico, that Hank Brown is going to be the guy starting Saturday against Louisiana Monroe.
Yeah.
I think that Payton Thorne is going to stay on the sideline. And then the next question becomes, how does Walker White get in the game? I was asked that on a radio show yesterday. So what does that mean? Does it mean Hank Brown's going to have to really light it up and Auburn's going to have to get out to a big lead? And do they skip over Holden Gerner at that situation and put in Walker White because you don't burn his red shirt? That's the only reason why I'm bringing that scenario up.
Yeah, the Walker White conversation, I've spent a lot of the week talking to folks asking, like, is the Walker White chatter legitimate, or do a lot of fans just want to see him because they've been super excited about this guy since he picked Auburn over Clemson a while ago? He was one of the early commits in this class that is performing so well. And I think it's more of just Auburn fans are excited about him and him kind of representing the future. I haven't talked to anybody within the program that's saying like, yeah, Walker's going to like compete for the job this weekend. I just haven't heard that. That doesn't mean it's not happening, but I would be surprised if Walker got relevant snaps on Saturday. Now, if Hank does start and it's not Payton and Payton's still battling the shoulder stuff and he's not an option in this game and they're up, do they just not give Holden any snaps? Like I have a hard time seeing that happen, Daryl. I don't really see the path to that. But
if you're looking big picture, like he says, you have to look. Yeah. Well, if you're looking big picture, though, that's another scenario where you would look big picture. Hate to say it, you would skip over Holden because you don't think he'll be here next year, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. And the other thing is, what you've touched on, Walker White has a tremendous emotional pull and tug with the Auburn fan base. And it's very simple. If you go back and do the show that we did when he committed, we got Kyle on with us. He was in a ditch somewhere in his car, pulled over on the side of the road.
That's right. Yeah.
And it was like World War II was over in Times Square. It was a celebration. It was a 100%. Celebration. It was the first big fish that Hugh Freeze reeled in that class. It was a little bit of a surprise because all the crystal balls had him going to Clemson, and by default, the position that it is, quarterback. Yeah. A lot of visibility there. So we were very excited, as was the Auburn family. That's why there's that emotional tug and that pull, because people thought, okay, and look, here's the thing that is a little bit concerning to me, and I get it's because Payton Thorne was blocking these people, is you could go around the country starting last year where talented freshmen got to play and play a lot. And even in certain places, 3 or 4 games in, the incumbent guy wasn't getting it done. They insert said freshman, and the team takes off. Auburn's not seen that. We saw a small taste with Hank Brown.
But also the freshman stuff, it's more than just that. It's like I just don't think all freshmen are I don't think they all come to college football like ready to play. And like I don't think Walker is one of those guys that's ready to play.
Is that an indictment on Walker, or is that an indictment on the staff that hasn't developed him to get him ready to play?
That's a good question.
We don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, my gut, like, I don't know. Like, if Walker would have gone to Clemson, like, he wouldn't be playing, and they wouldn't expect him to play. He'd be at least, the 3 or 4. They like Chris Vizena behind,
well, they've got over there. They've got an established, legitimate starter. That's
for sure.
Things. So
I don't think. But like he also was playing private school ball in Arkansas. Like that doesn't scream like ready to play day one. And that's nothing against Walker. It's just the situation, and everybody knew that going into it. So I don't know. I don't think Deuce Knight's going to start as a freshman. I don't think he's in that conversation.
Reason why I think that's different, though, from a scenario standpoint, is because I think Hugh Freeze learned his lesson the hard way, and regardless of what happens and who comes in that quarterback room next year, he's going out and getting a portal quarterback that's going to play right away, 1-year solution.
Yeah,
that's why.
I'm not pushing back against that at all.
That's why. So if Hugh Freeze did not go get a portal quarterback next year, and if he doesn't, something's wrong, and he just said, okay, Walker White, Hank Brown, and Deuce Knight, you guys are battling it out for the job, Deuce Knight would have a chance, in my opinion. I think he would. Certain packages, at least.
Sure. And to me, I think if Walker plays on Saturday, it'll be in the form, if he plays relevant snaps when the game's still somewhat competitive, I think it'll be in the form of a package.
It's either you're way up or you've got nothing to lose. Think of that scenario number 2. What if Auburn comes out and looks like they did against New Mexico State and falls behind early, and Hank Brown's not moving the team, and you're down 14? And in that scenario,
I don't think you put him in that. Like, I don't know. A rough way to start a guy, though, man. Start his career here. I don't know.
They did it with Hank Brown against Maryland.
Fair.
In a bowl game, which was the difference between having a winning season and a losing season.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Man, Auburn basketball is just red hot. And we're going to talk about what's happened on the court, but off the court, They gained the commitment from Kaden Magwood. And oh my goodness, we talk about what that means next, right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at Game Time. Game Time is the best place to buy tickets, whether it's for Auburn basketball, Auburn football, Auburn baseball is right around the corner. It doesn't matter what sport it is. It doesn't matter what level it is. It doesn't matter if it's for a concert or the theater. Daryl, Game Time is our one-stop shop that both of us trust when it comes to buying tickets.
Love it. Love the lightning deals. Love the special deals where they'll show you that there's an isolated special on this particular section. Then you click on that section and you're able to see if you're sitting behind a pole or not, which is wonderful. People get surprised a lot of times where their seats are. So I love them. I use them for concerts. I've used them for sporting events. Have not used them for the theater yet.
The theater.
I've used
them
and I've used them for a comedy show.
Yeah, that's right.
It was great. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, Game Time picks. The curation makes it easier for you to save on sports, concerts, comedy, the theater, and more. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it?
Game time.
It's game time. Today's show is also brought to you by our friends at Alumni Hall. Can you imagine buying Auburn gear anywhere else, Daryl? Can you imagine?
I texted you. Had some friends come in from out of town, all over from Cocoa Beach. Ooh. And they asked me, they said, hey, we want to get our daughter and ourselves some up-to-date new Auburn gear before the game. Where should I go? And she made a special point to text me that they took care of her, and she was thrilled with what they got.
Incredible. Yeah, the folks there are always super, super friendly, and they've got 3 physical locations in Auburn, in Opelika, and in Huntsville. And also you can go to alumnihall.com and check out their expansive catalog, all at alumnihall.com. Big fan of everything they do. And if you're looking for Auburn gear, they've got you covered. alumnihall.com. The Auburn Tigers add Kaden Magwood to their recruiting class. And this is a guy who is a combo guard from Charlotte, North Carolina. 6'1", 170 is what 247 has him listed as. And this guy can do a lot of things. He can do a lot of things well, Daryl.
Great basketball name, too. I love that. I could just imagine that.
Kaden Magwood.
So he's originally from Louisville, Kentucky, basketball hotbed, transferred to Combine Academy in Charlotte. They list him as a combo guard, but I think he's really going to play a lot of two in college for a couple reasons. Number one, multiple sites and multiple people that have done scouting reports have said he can create his own shot. He's good off the dribble. And I'm talking about long range pull up off the dribble, but he's also a good catch and shoot guy coming off ball screens. This one is the best. It said he's one of the most naturally talented bucket getting guards in the class. He dominates the ball. He wants it in scoring situations. He will pass and give it up from an assist standpoint if his shot's not there. But I mean, even defensively, he's really, really good. And at 6'1", the kid can still dunk. And he's had some highlight reel dunks. So at 6'1", he's got a wingspan of 6'5". So that helps him defensively get his hand in the passing lanes and then the ability because of that wingspan. But they've talked about how he's a 3-threat scorer. He can score in the lane. This is really cool. Talking about he's very good at floaters and wrong foot finishing. Now, see, that's important. And people may but when you're in, sometimes if you're a really good shooter and they come out at you and you have to put it on the floor and go by them, other players, as you know, Zach, will slide over and impede your you have to learn how to shoot off the wrong foot, how to shoot off balance. They said this kid's special at being able to do that. The float game, the wrong foot game. I saw highlights of him pulling up 3 foot behind the 3-point line, just dribbling, pulling up. The only problem is, and this is the thing that Bruce will coach out of him, one of the drawbacks, if they give the whole scouting report, is he is such a dominant scorer, averaging 23 points a game in high school, that sometimes he forces shots.
Yeah.
But it's not there because he's that confident that I'll make it. And he makes a lot of them. Passing the ball, especially in a Bruce Pearl offense, when you don't have that shot, is paramount. He'll learn that. But this is a really good guard, very fluid guard. And I see him playing. I know they said combo, but he is really fit for the two.
Yeah, I love that he's the number one player in North Carolina. I mean, that's typically a pretty talented state. So I love that as well. So he joins Simon Walker, who's the 4-star up in
Another
up in
shooter.
Huntsville. Yeah.
Another pure shooter.
Yeah. So and this class is going to be important because think about it. I mean, Auburn's got double-digit seniors that are out of here, and you got to think the sales pitch to anybody who's committing to Auburn right now is minutes will be available. And so Kaden Magwood, Simon Walker, like you may see these guys being a big part of the team early next year.
There's a kid Sunday, Sebastian Williams is his last name, I believe, that Bruce Pearl had the opportunity to talk to in Houston when Auburn played last Saturday. He's a bigger forward. I think he commits Sunday, and then there's still a Beev or a Baev. I don't know how you pronounce that. Okay. Really, really talented big. Is also on Auburn's radar, and I think they were looking to add 4. So those are 2 names just to keep in mind for down the road.
Yeah, it can't hurt that Auburn basketball is the hottest team in the country right now. When all these guys are getting ready to commit, it can't hurt at all, Daryl.
The visibility is off the charts. And again, you're going to Duke and playing at Duke. You know how many people come and watch Duke games. You're playing in this Maui thing against Iowa State. You're going to play Purdue. The visibility is incredible. And this is when you strike when the iron's hot. And I love – and I know people say, well, he's a 4-star. You know, this kid's really, really good. He's really dynamic. And the reason why he may not be a 5-star is, you know, they found that one aspect of his game where he might force the basketball too much. So unfortunately and unfairly, that's what happens from a grading system. But I watched, you know, about 5 minutes of his highlights today in all different gyms, high school gyms when you're playing on the circuit, that kind of thing.
Yeah, sure.
And I was pretty fired up. He's pretty special. He's just a natural bucket getter, like this guy said.
Yeah, which is what you want. And I mean, you just want the clay, right? And then this coaching staff has proven that that you'll get better once you get here. So absolutely love it. The Auburn Tigers return to action this evening against Kent State. What do you need to know about this matchup and more? That's coming up right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. FanDuel is America's #1 sports book. And Daryl, right now, the Auburn Tigers are big favorites, rightfully so, I think, against ULM. And so right now, Auburn is a 23.5-point favorite. And the line is out early for Auburn at Kent State. You want to guess what the line is for Auburn Kent State?
18.
20.5. So you're pretty close. I'm
pretty good at that.
Yeah, you're good at everything.
No, I'm not. I'm usually not good. The line at Vanderbilt, boy, was I wrong. I mean, I was right on the line when it came out, but obviously Auburn didn't hold up.
Nope. That was bad for sure. But yeah, so if you feel confident about Auburn minus 20.5 against Kent State or minus 23.5 against ULM, head over to FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet $5 to get $150 in bonus bets. If you win, just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You can get started with $150 in bonus bets. Just hit on that first $5 bet. All at FanDuel.com. Daryl, the Auburn Tigers take on Kent State this evening. And, of course, as soon as that game is over, head to the Locked On Auburn YouTube page. You and I will be live reacting to the action. Will it be as high energy as Auburn beating Houston over the weekend? Probably not. But still, this is a top 5 team according to the AP poll, and obviously the #1 team in college basketball according to Ken Pom. Kent State, not an impressive team. They've won all the games they've played so far this year against not super stellar competition, but a team that's going to want to come into Neville Arena and mess some things up. We'll see if they're able to do it or not.
Kent State, a MAC team. Definitely this game is going to be about watching how Auburn plays and the energy that Auburn plays with. It's all about Auburn. Kent State, as you mentioned, 2-0. They have victories over Miami Hamilton and Louisiana Lafayette. Now, let me just say this. If you beat somebody that's a famous Broadway play, I don't know how much of stock, you know what I'm saying? I mean, have you ever heard of Miami Hamilton? I'd never heard of that before.
No.
Famous Broadway play, and they beat them.
Yep.
Pretty good, 98-53.
You can watch them. You can watch that on Disney Plus.
There you go. Exactly. And then they struggled a little bit with Lafayette, Sunbelt school, who's pretty good, 70-66. I don't even think they should be called Louisiana Lafayette. I think they're just Louisiana now, the Raging Cajuns. Our good friend Dave Schultz knows all about them. So
sure, lock on Sunbelt.
Yeah, so he might be able to give you a little skinny on that. But I think that this is a game, again, that it's not about the opponent. It's about watching Auburn. Do they play with energy? Is there a letdown? I mean, you could let down, but are they lethargic? Do they just kind of go through the motions because of coming off that big win against Houston? Could be a letdown. I don't think so. I think this team's get pretty exciting and high flying, and they're going to be looking forward to coming back home. And look, the home crowd is going to be sitting on go after that win against Houston. So even if they come out that way, that's the great thing about Neville. That crowd can kind of get them elevated a little bit to the intensity level they need to be. And then the question remains, are we going to see Jakai Howard and Jaheim Hudson? They're in class. They were at practice. Will they sit this one, and will they sit the UNA game out? I don't know. But, it's a game that you shouldn't have to have a very deep bench. 9 or 10 should be plenty. It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, I mean, you didn't need him against Houston. You shouldn't need him against Kent State. But do they have the same suspension? Like, do you see Hudson before you see, Jakai? Like, I think that's going to be interesting to see.
That'll tell the tale of
what actually happened.
Yeah, instigator in the fight or whatever. I mean, he did the right thing, leaving them both at home since they both were involved in the altercation. But then you start sorting through facts and, it's
just more like, firsthand, stories come out from it, and it's like, this didn't seem like as big of a deal as it originally seemed. But,
well, when the pilot's wearing an Alabama Peter Millar quarter zip, then there's an issue. That's part of the problem. When you get
is that true?
No, I'm just joking.
Okay, I'll say, wow, that's wild.
I'm teasing. I could just, he gets off the plane. He has a little, little tied in cursive, and I could see that happening. But no, that's just funny. A joke, silly joke. But I get it. There was the flight attendant. I get it. And Bruce Pearl handled it exactly how we needed to handle it. And this team responded exactly how they needed to respond. So that's the most important thing.
Sure. No question about it. So once again, we'll be live right after this one, but I think Auburn wins this game by 20-25 points. I don't think this is particularly a close game when it's all said and done. I would not be shocked if Auburn got off to a little bit of a slow start, and maybe, it's 5-6 point game at the half, and then they kind of go on a run in the second half. That wouldn't shock me, but I would be shocked if this was close at the end of the game.
You think about Auburn's bench scoring, which may be affected because you may start guys now that came off the bench that were really effective. But either way,
maybe,
you think of how Auburn has done such a good job with their bench scoring against Vermont and Houston. Against a MAC opponent like Kent State, that should be a huge advantage for Auburn to have, because even if it's a little sluggish and you're only up 3 or 4, that second wave comes in, you blink and you're down 15.
It's a good point. Daryl, how can people check out everything that you've got going on?
Follow me on X, DAP6410, Instagram, Daryl Dapp. Wednesdays and Fridays with you on the normal Locked On shows. Then, as we talked about, we do a live show. And then, of course, Sunday morning, we'll be dropping the football reaction show as well. Then I do some writing in the barn, auburn.com. I did my first basketball recap Saturday. I did it Sunday because we got done at midnight. It was late. So anyway, but there's some fun takeaways in there to read if you're in there.
Yeah, the barn, auburn.com. Please like the video. Please subscribe. We'll see you next time. This has been Locked On Auburn.